Good morning. A few days ago, in one of the morning meditations, I remembered what came through was, are you feeling the joy? Are you feeling the happiness? And then it said, tell your face that. I don't know if you all heard that or not. But, as we sit, is our face expressing that inner joy, or are we caught in a heaviness of the struggle of this human life, which it's very easy to do, be caught in that struggle. And I was touched last night. I had heard the tape many times that I played last night a while back, but I was touched by two words that Joel said in the very, very beginning. He said, "This is a fascinating experiment." Did you all hear that?
Yeah.
And I thought, how many of us think of it as an experiment, a trial and error, a trial and error? And what have we found from Joel that error is? Not that it was wrong, not that you failed, not that you missed the mark, not that you sinned, but the error is the illusion of our perception of what's going on. So I love that trial and error. And we put ourselves on trial a lot, in this world. And when we read the message and we know the message and we know the principles to the bottom of our feet and the bottom of our soul, we still put ourselves many times on trial. Well, the verdict is in. You're not guilty. Asleep, perhaps, but not guilty. And I think many times about the difference in Jesus and the difference in Buddha. And I've heard it said that if they were in the room together, Jesus would look at Buddha and say, listen to him. And Buddha would look at Jesus and say, listen to him. Because I think Jesus, and basically the Christ consciousness through that man, Jesus, gave us ways and I would say codes of being that would work in this particular dimension. And they are codes that we all try to live by. And when I say in this dimension, I guess I'm really talking about humanhood. This is what we see, hear, taste, and touch with our five physical senses. And so we have a code of being, not because we're good or evil or bad or wrong or right or wrong, but because it works. And many times things happen in our experience, and I love that we are to be fascinated by the experiment of this human condition. And so we've been given a code and a way of living, and Joel gave us principles and a code and a way of living. And yet many times in our misperception, or what we call conditioning, we aren't demonstrating what we know we should be demonstrating. Should. We demonstrate many times out of our preconceived ideas. We demonstrate a lot out of what we were told. And the most important thing of all is to not beat ourselves up and to lay down that whip. Well, good luck. I just went through 2 weeks of beating the living crap out of myself previous to this class because I had failed one of the principles. And the most basic principles that I speak of on a daily basis, not only out there, but to everyone I'm with, including myself. And I failed to see the spiritual I failed in recognition of the spirithood and saw a behavior, and I just was trying so hard to wake this person up accidentally. I didn't really go about to do that, but in some of my words, it distanced, shall we say, distanced the person. It did not, what would you say, uphold the person or encourage the person, but it distanced. And when the person finally told me what I had said, or it just popped out. I wasn't given a lot of thought about it. It was just kind of a matter of fact over a sentence. She said, that hurt me very much. And I immediately said, I am so, so sorry. It was not intended to hurt you. And my experience of when I get hurt, and it happens, it is because there's a truth there that I don't want to face. And I was an instrument for pointing it out. And later, I apologized up and down and didn't mean to hurt you and all that, but the distance was still there. And I knew that the only work I could do was inwardly. And as I was writing about it, what came out was there was no intent to hurt. There was an intent to awaken. And that was my Achilles heel, I guess you could say. Because I've had it happen before. It just, like sometimes you just want to shake somebody awake, Why? Why is it my business? It's not any of my business. And it was, again, in part, it was unconscious on my part. I didn't even know that that's what I was trying to do until after it had been done. What a fascinating experiment. What a fascinating experience in what doesn't work. But what does work? What works is upholding and beholding the very presence of God in everyone, regardless of, the whole. It's funny because the codependency hole that I was trying to aid this person from going down into, I proceeded to fall right down into my own hole, and then had to crawl out all dirty and. So anyway, that was a rough one. And then, of course, how could you, you're supposed to be la, 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 la. Well, I'm not, I wasn't. And the world work for all of us is to see the conditioning and awaken from the fact that none of it matters. I remember a teacher, Mary Hunt, said all that matters, really, all the times that you're asleep and get caught in the misperception of whatever is going on for you, whatever your particular thing that'll get you off the path. And what I mean by that is there's always something that will either scare you off or entice or pull you off in, oh, that's interesting, that's fascinating, let me go over and investigate that. And then we lose the basic right here on this path, right here where I'm walking. What is this path? Christ consciousness. And it's funny, we can call it, Barbara Muhl used to call it the devil. The devil cannot get on the path. So if I'm staying right in my center, right on the path, the devil can't get on the path. But the devil can stand over here and scare the heck out of me, or can stay over here and go, come here, this looks really interesting. Something out there that will pull me off and then, have to come back. And many times the dead ends will take years. I've known, the dead ends will take years to go way down and find it to be a cul-de-sac, and back we come. Oh yeah, right identity. God is the substance of all form, right identity. And Diane was talking earlier about a student who had come to class, and it just clicked for me, because I realized next year will be 40 years for me that I have gone to classes, presented classes, been at classes, listened to thousands of Joel tapes, been to tape groups, had tape groups. And what clicked about coming to class, what do we come here for? Don't we come to be lifted, to be recognized as who we are, that very soul of the divine? And as this student had said, I came to hear the message. And I thought, how wonderful. Absolutely, you come to hear the message, because I begin by myself to forget, or it lessens in me, and I start to get enticed out into what I see here, out here, and it starts to pull. The fascination of the world is so powerful, and the fascination right now of good and evil is so apparent on the news and with our amazing political situation. I've never seen such a circus, and I'm maybe it's always been that way, really, but maybe I just maybe way back in the early times of the political presidencyship, and when we started having democracy and Republicans and Democrats and then we have our liberals, and oh yeah, I'm a liberal, I've got to be a liberal, and we start looking out there, and always behind in our consciousness we hear the government is on his shoulders, the Christ shoulders. The message is, wake up. What is the message? The message is God appearing as individual being. Does that mean this humanhood that we look out at and see? No. Individual soul, individual spirit. So if you would like to speak to the Trumps and the Hillarys and whoever else is out there campaigning, let's remember where to talk from. Do we talk from what they are presenting, or do we go in and go, oh, I recognize you even in this incredible disguise that you've presented to me. And you've done such a really good job. God had to turn the volume up on these people so that we could awaken and go, oh my God, there before me is the very presence of God, unrecognized. The very light of being, unrecognized, unawake. But I can come home and I can go soul to soul and forget this amazing, it's as though great writers have written this incredible script for these people, and they're on the stage playing these characters, and they're doing such a good job, And the curtain will eventually come down, and we'll all just applaud. The audience, if you were watching this on a stage play, eventually the curtain would fold, and you would go, wow, what great acting is that, So don't get too caught up in the importance of this incredible stage play that we're witnessing. Always, oh yeah. What government am I looking toward? This government? Or if I lived in France, that government? Or if I lived in Africa, hopefully not that government, It's all trying. They're all attempting to be what they think is their individual fulfillment. And unfortunately, the conditioning is not that appealing. So what do I have to worry about? my conditioning? What am I presenting? What character am I playing? And it was very plain to me when I sent the class schedule to George that the word fulfillment, is there anything else you want more than fulfillment? Fulfillment of being. You want to, what do you want when the last day that you take your last breath as this being on this earth? What will be your fulfillment? The house you built? What is it? The children you produced? Or will it be every single soul that you've touched throughout the years that you've been here, soul to soul, and that pure love? And as you enter the next incarnation, we came this incarnation to awaken out of the sleep. And I have wanted to read this one little thing I found, and I think I brought it before years ago, but I love it so much, and I've made copies. It's very simple. Oh, what then? What if you slept, and what if in your sleep you dreamed? And what if in your dream you went to heaven, and there you plucked a strange and beautiful flower? And what if when you awoke, you had the flower in your hand? Oh, what then? And yes, Joel is probably the first metaphysician / mystic that made it very, very clear that this is the illusionary nature of this third dimensional world. He is the one that awoke everyone by saying, don't metaphysically work on the appearances of this world, your body, your home, your relationships. Work on awakening to my presence. He said, I am not here to make your world beautiful. I am here to awaken you in consciousness to the beauty that already is. And it is in this very presence of God, right here, right now, but always in the moment, right there, just snapping of the fingers, just as you stop, as if you clap your hands, it's in that, if you clap your hands and then pull the hands away, it's right there. That touch, that kiss, I call it, that spiritual kiss, right there in the moment. But the minute I start telling the stories in my mind, I lose that incredible moment. And so many times, what comes forth is moment by moment. Not tomorrow, not what happened yesterday, not what the awful drama I got myself into inwardly mostly in the last couple of weeks. No, in the moment, when I pause, when I stop, there I am. And as Joel said on the tape tonight, right in the beginning, he said, you are a child sent into this expression to do a specific thing. When you go into your child self, the innocence that arises is profound. And we try so hard to be these spiritual adults, these gurus, so as you have it. And I love the word guru, and when you spell it, G-U-R-U. G-U-R-U. But when you go into that childlike being, and we see the innocence, no one ever started out in the innocence of that littleness saying, I'm going to grow up to mess my life up really, really good. Or I'm going to grow up to really, distrust. When we go into that innocence of that little being and leave it alone, stop trying to make it mature or make it, just let it be that innocence in that moment by moment, loving that little child within. And if we do that with everyone out there, seeing that little baby girl and that little baby boy, and then as a toddler, picture even our lovely Trump. Can we picture him as a little 2-year-old boy and 3-year-old boy and 4? Can you see the innocence and the amount of amazing conditioning that had to be given to that little being? And not even just in this lifetime, but lifetime after lifetime, to want to grow up and build more walls. I was saying to George, we just took down walls, the Iron Curtain, we just took down the wall of China, we just, took in Tiananmen Square and all of that. We're busy as spiritual beings pulling down the lines, and there's still those conditioned to want to build them up. But why? What is it? One of two things, I promise you. It is fear or it is enticement with more. I want more. I want more power. I want more money. I want more prestige. I want more honor. I want more recognition of my incredibleness. So do we feed into that? Or do we go, oh, the Christ screaming out for recognition. Behold, if we don't do it, who will? If we who have heard some sort of message from Joel, some sort of message from the Scripture, and as Jesus even said, pay Caesar's things unto Caesar, and we let it be. We step away, we lay down the sword, and we deliver love. And we deliver love to the child, the Christ child that's still in the manger in the humanhood, still in the manger, yet to grow and behold the miraculous resurrection of spirit, knowing just spirit self. And we come to, and then we come to believe. But then if we hang around long enough on this journey, we come to know. Mostly we come to know that we don't know, hopefully, and that we are humble enough and teachable enough to lay down all judgments and lay down the sword. We don't lay down discernment. It is important that we keep that spiritual discernment, not of right or wrong, but of what works and what doesn't work in the spiritual realm, which is the realm we live in. It became very vogue for a while for us to say we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And the last two Infinite Way teachers that I was blessed to sit in their classes said this is incorrect. We are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. Take your choice. You can still keep having a human experience should you like to, or you can move. I am spirit being here now, and anything out there of the human nature is simply part of the dream and simply part of that which I am projecting out from my conditioning or the world beaming at me. And I believe after I came through this experience, it was as though I was being cut in the middle, just being stabbed in the middle. And it was as though I was processing all the guilt of all mankind was what it felt like. And finally, this isn't mine. This is impersonal. And what is the major principle that sets the infinite way apart from other metaphysical and mystical experiences? And I still, as much as I read, and read a lot of all the other paths, I have yet to really hear too many speak of impersonal, that all this that's being beamed at us is universal hypnotism, and please, can we stop taking it so personally? We haven't done anything wrong. We simply fell asleep, or we simply got enticed, or we simply got scared enough to reach out into the third dimensional world for solutions. And some of them work. In fact, Joel in one of the tapes expressed that one day he said that that physical medical procedures were going to soon put metaphysicians out of work, he expressed, because they're going to come up with cures for all of these physical ailments, so to speak. So what we have to worry about is not the physical ailment. What we have to concern ourselves with is our spiritual conditioning. Are we staying in the middle path? Are we staying on that fine line, as they call it, the razor's edge? Are we taking it personally, what we are demonstrating in our bodies or in our lives? Are we taking it personally? And I'm speaking whether we call it good or whether we call it bad. Is all this goodness coming to me because I'm such a good person? I don't think so. Or is all these negative things coming because I've done something wrong? Absolutely not. Get this into your head. It is not personal. It is universal mesmerism, and we keep on driving. Though we see those things that look like water on the desert, that we stop the car and say, I can't go any further, I can't go through the water. As Joel said, keep driving. We keep walking. We keep heading toward the light, for we know, Christ consciousness above all.